Today we're taking a break from our spiritual discipline series. We will finish that next week. We will look at celebration. The entire sermon will be on the final 7th discipline of feasting. But this week we're going to take a break since, guys, Tuesday is Valentine's Day. Yeah. So we're going to take a break and look at this just for a minute today. The way of love, a God-honoring and fulfilling marriage, will be in Matthew 19, and we'll be there fairly quickly. If you're a note taker, you can use that QR code. You can go to fbcdan.com/notes. If you're out there on the live stream, it's a way that you can see what's on the screen, even when the camera doesn't show you what's on the screen. So fbcdan.com/notes or that QR code. Email it to yourself when you're done. You're welcome to get it on that right now if you're ready. So again, we're looking at marriage. And sometimes when there's a sermon on marriage, that type of thing, if you're not married, if you don't want to be married, if you're not even close to being married, it's like, click, check out. I could have just slept in today and stayed home. I don't think that's the case today. I really hope that's not the case. I think it will either help you in your marriage, help you help someone in marriage, or may thoroughly convince you to just not be married. That's not my desire, but it may be the outcome. So I think this has a little bit for all of us today as we get in. So you may or may not have heard this story. I've heard numerous comedians tell this joke or this story, however you want to put it. But right in the middle of New York City, Times Square, there's a big store there. It's the husband store. It's got 6 different levels on this store. And the catch to the husband story is you start on level 1 and you're offered something. You can take that as your husband, whatever is being offered, or you can go to the next level and see what that presents. But once you go to the next level, you can't go back down. You can't go back down to level 1 once you go to level 2 and so forth and so on. So on level 1, there's a man that has a job. Fairly intriguing. The woman contemplates. She goes to level 2. Curious of what level 2 is going to present. On level 2, there's a husband that is willing, or that has a job and loves kids, loves to raise kids, loves being around kids, and now she's getting intrigued a little bit. But she doesn't want to quite stop there, so she goes on to level 3. Remember, can't go back to level 2 once you go to level 3. So on level 3, not only does the man have a job, not only does he love kids, but on level 3, he's extremely good looking. He's extremely good looking. And now she's thinking, wow, this is getting pretty good. Wonder what I should do. Think I'll go to level 4. So she goes to level 4. On level 4, he has a job. He loves kids. He's extremely good looking. And he loves to help with housework. Level 4. She's thinking, mercy me. This might be too good to be true. I can't believe it. Then she moves on to level 5. On level 5, he's got a job. He loves kids. He's extremely good looking. He loves to help with housework. And on level 5, he's got a really strong romantic streak. I mean, he's just a romantic through and through. So think about it. This guy's got a job. He loves kids. He's good looking. He's willing to help with housework. And he's an extreme romantic. Just practically Prince Charming wrapped up. And she's tempted to stay. She's really tempted to stay, but she thinks, there's one more level. Wow, what else could there be? And so she goes to level 6. And on level 6, there's a sign that says, you are visitor 3,261,496,012. There are no men on this floor. This floor exists to prove that it is absolutely impossible to please women. Now, I know I'm starting off on shaky ground. I get that. Just a joke. It's just a joke, kind of. You're in the basement. Across the street, there's a wife store. You go across the street, first level, there's a woman there that loves sex. She enjoys it. Man thinks, good start. Goes, careful what you ask for, preacher. Careful what you ask for. So it goes to level 2. Level 2, she loves sex and she has money. I said, well, can't get much better than that, but I'll try one more. He goes to level 3. She loves sex, she has money, and she's kind. Nobody's ever been to level 4. Levels 4, 5, and 6 are empty. Nobody's ever gone there. Unnecessary. All right. So with all that in mind, let's talk about marriage. Matthew chapter 19, starting, and I've got my words backwards here. There we go. Matthew chapter 19, starting a little bit into verse 1. He departed from Galilee and went to the region of Judea across the Jordan. Large crowds followed him, and he healed them there. Some Pharisees approached him to test him. They asked, "Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife on any grounds?" Verse 4, "Haven't you read?" He replied. "Haven't you read?" he replied, "that he who created them in the beginning made them male and female? And he also said, for this reason a man will leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two will become one flesh." Finishing in verse 6, "So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore what God has joined together, man must not separate." Father, I come to you today, God, and I pray that you would speak to me and through me, Lord. I pray that we would glean wisdom and knowledge and information, God, that would be honoring to you, that would be pertinent to our lives, that would help fulfill our lives, that would help strengthen our church. God, I pray that you would do what only you can do. God, I pray that you would draw sinners unto salvation, God, and that you would revive those who claim you as Savior, God. We pray all these things in Jesus' matchless and wonderful name, and the whole church said, Amen. That's 8. We've got a few more to go. So, breaking it down just a little bit, and then we'll get into some practical stuff. Jesus says, he who created them in the beginning made them male and female. Now, of course, and I spoke about this just a little bit, and it's just kind of the way things work out. It wasn't on purpose, but I spoke about this a little bit at Miss Thacker's funeral. Of course, the Pharisees are trying to find a loophole because that's what we do with God-given commandments. We either try to find the loophole or we ignore them completely. That's what sinful mankind does. And that's what they're doing. They're trying to trap him. They're trying to see if he knows what to say. They're trying to trap him in a loophole of the law of marriage that God has given. And he says, hey, don't you know, haven't you read? What does Jesus point them to? The Scriptures. Not an opinion, not a self-help book. Sometimes those things are good. Half the time they're more detrimental than they are helpful. He points them to the Scriptures. He who created them in the beginning made them male and female. So, newsflash this morning. We are different. Men and women are different. I don't know if you've ever realized that or not. I mean, bright flashing headline, right? Big red fire truck, as Coach Crane used to say. Hello, big red fire truck. Pay attention. We're different. Male and female are different. Here's some biological differences between men and women. Men tend to have bigger brains than women do. Now, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you facts are facts, okay? Even when you adjust for body size, men tend to have bigger brains on average. These are all on average because there's always a few biological exceptions out there than women do. But women's brains are more connected than men's, okay? A woman has verbal centers on both sides of her brain. She has verbal centers on her right side and on her left side, okay? Men only have it on their left side. This means that women are generally better at discussing and describing emotions than men. See, you thought he just didn't care, but it's just the way his brain is wired. It's different. We are different. Women's brains also tend to have better flow to a part called the cingulate gyrus than men, which is the part of the brain that processes emotions, making women more likely to revisit emotional memories. Okay, that's biological. Helps. Women are more likely to revisit emotional memories. That's why she goes, yeah, but that one time is because you hurt her emotionally. That's why it's coming back up. Studies have shown that women are better at identifying colors because male eyes require longer wavelengths than female eyes do. Now, we've talked about this in youth a long time ago. This language is actually crafted, it's actually present in the creation story, the language describing this difference between men. I won't chase that rabbit today, but it's there for a different day. So, to experience the same hue, it's different for men and women. Longer wavelengths are associated with warmer colors. Greens look greener to women, but more yellow to men. Biologically speaking, this isn't happenstance. This is fact. So women are also capable of seeing and identifying more shades of a color than men. It's not that he doesn't care how he looks. He literally doesn't see it the same way that you do. Physically, he doesn't see it. And here's something that everybody that's married to a man in Yale County knows. Women might see colors better, but men are better at scanning and seeing details of movement from objects far away. That's why he can't find the ketchup in the refrigerator, but he can see a deer 300 yards away. It's just the way his brain is made. Okay? Now, studies think that the reason for this is when you go back to when we were hunters and gatherers. Okay? Women needed to be able to pick out things together. Men needed to be able to see predators, see animals, find the meat, find the food, all that type of thing. So it's a biological thing, a biological need that plays out in very different and weird ways in modern life. Studies have shown that men tend to outperform women in spatial tasks. In other words, men, on average, not everyone, on average, are better at recognizing a three-dimensional object, what a three-dimensional object would look like if it were rotated. Thus why men, on average, are more interested in the STEM fields, science and technology and those types of things. Men are more interested in things on average, and women are more interested in people on average. It's the way we are. Overall, men are physically bigger than women. Up to 50% on average more upper body, upper arm strength. Men tend to have bigger bones and experience less bone density loss over time. That's why osteoporosis in men is practically a non-existent thing, but in women it exists on a high level. Also has to do with estrogen dropping later in a woman's age. Women are more likely to experience depression for the same reasons we've already discussed. They're more emotionally connected mentally. Men are more predisposed to alcoholism. Men physically experience a greater rush of dopamine in their ventral striatum, there you go, the area of the brain associated with addiction and pleasure, making them more likely to form an unhealthy drinking habit. It literally affects the sexes differently. So, again, all this is in Scripture, and kind of, not like that, but the differences in men and women is in Scripture. Even the words that describe us are different. When God says he's going to make a helper that is suitable, is the way we say it in English. In the Hebrew, it's ezer and kenegedal. It's hard for me to say that word. Kenegedal. Okay, we translate that suitable, and that's proper, that's right, that's real, that's what it is. But it's more of an adversarial completion. It's an opposing complement, is what that really means. It's a force opposing but completing the other. So yeah, when you enter sin into the equation, there's friction there and opposing forces. So newsflash again, men and women are different. It says, for this reason, he continues, a man will leave his father and mother. Because we are one, male and female, one made in the image of God. This is why man leaves his family and joins to another. Man, as in the sex man, is not made in God's image alone, and woman is not made in God's image alone, but we two combined express God's image. Not one or the other, but both. God is not gendered. He doesn't have male or femaleness. He is who he is, and he allowed that to be expressed through two different sexes in the human race. So this right here, understand, is a description, not a prescription. This is not saying that to be moral, you have to leave your family and go be joined to a wife. It's a description. It's what happens. This is what happens, not this is what has to happen. In other words, it's not morally wrong to not be married, is what I'm saying. You don't have to be married to be right in God's eyes. The New Testament is clear on that. It's just saying this is what happened. Man desires woman, and woman desires man. That is the way it happens. And we come together, moving on, and are joined together. They leave their family and go to be with their wife, and they are joined. He's joined to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. Now, this word in here, joined together, the word is kalithestai, to glue together, to cement, to fasten together, to join, to fasten together, to join together, to cleave to, your translation may say. Husband and wife join themselves together physically and are supposed to stay together physically. That's the original design. Just the way it is. You can argue that till the cows come home. Society can argue that till the cows come home. It can be attacked, and it's always been attacked. It's one of the things that has always been attacked by a sinful world. God's design for marriage, it is what it is. Right here, it's saying that sex is one of the original designs and purposes for marriage. Think about that. When you play with the boundaries God has set for your protection. Think about that. It's part of the original design and purpose by God the Creator. When you toy with the idea of stepping outside of that boundary, think about what you are doing. Stepping outside of this is stepping outside of the God-ordained reason and purpose for marriage, one of them. It's no small offense. It's no small offense to step outside of this boundary. It carries no small consequences either. It's one of the most consequential, damaging things that has ever existed in mankind is when this physical bond, this marital bond is broken by sexual infidelity of any kind. Has major life-altering consequences to everyone involved. It's one of the most foolish mistakes one can make. And I say foolish because the promise of this sin is this is why you are unhappy. This is why you're unhappy. If you'll just step outside of this fence, this boundary that God has, if you'll just step outside and do more, have more, experience something different, do something new, then you'll be happy. If you just do this act, you'll be happy. Heck, you even deserve it. You deserve it. It will be better. To anyone that has ever experienced that, I would ask the question, well, is it? Is it better? Did it get better? No, it's not better. Can it be forgiven by God? Absolutely. Absolutely, it can be forgiven. By a human? Yeah, it can be forgiven. But I'm telling you, it's a wound of the heart and of the soul that cuts so deep and is so very, very difficult to heal. Don't believe that lie. Breaking your marital bond with adultery is not worth it. It never has been and it never will be. So when that lie is presented to you, when Satan presents that lie to you, and it will present itself if you are married, this opportunity will come up. I can guarantee you that 100%. You need to tell that opportunity to go straight to hell where it belongs, because that's all it's going to do is create hell in your life. It's not worth it. It's not true. It's not real. So we're joined together. We're joined together, glued together. It's kind of like this. Depends on how your brain's wired, what you see here. You may be like me and you just constantly go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It drives me crazy. Okay? You may see two faces looking at each other. You may see a white vase. But the thing is, where does one start and it all goes together, right? That's male and female. Where one stops, the other starts. Where one starts, the other stops. It's all together. It's all necessary. It's all purposeful. It all has a reason, but it is different. Verse 6. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, man must not separate. Now, in the English, most of the time we use the same word right there, but it's not the same word in the Hebrew. It's not the same word as being glued together. Okay? That's talking more in a physical sense. Okay? In a physical sense, that we glue each other together sexually in marriage. This is God joining together. And what God has joined together, man must not separate. Let man not divorce would be the most literal way to say it from the Hebrew. The purpose of marriage is to advance God's kingdom rule on earth for his glory. It means working together with your spouse for that goal. That's a quote from Tony Evans. The purpose of marriage is to advance God's kingdom rule on earth for his glory. It means working together with your spouse for that joint goal. This word here in the Hebrew of joined, it means to be yoked together. To be yoked together, like two oxen would be placed in a yoke. If you don't know those types of terms, the yoke is the thing they put on them so they can pull whatever it is they need to pull to get the job done. Now, if you have two ox or two horses or two whatever yoked together and one's pulling and one ain't, it don't work. It don't work at all. It's a mess. You'd be better off to have one ox or one horse yoked by itself and doing the pulling than you would to have two and one doing all the work and one doing all the sitting on the rear end. It just doesn't work. That's the word used right here when God says he is joined together. They are one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh as we move on. The word for that is siong pneumi in the Greek, by the way. I skipped over that, but it's all the same. So we are one flesh together. God has joined together man and woman, male and female. He has joined it together. We glue together in physical union, but God has joined us together to work together. So the oneness of marriage has a purpose. The oneness of marriage has a purpose. The bringing together. There's no such thing as what I'm doing and what he or she is doing. That's not the way it works in a marriage. You don't think about what I'm doing compared to what she is doing, or what I'm doing compared to what he is doing. There's just what we are doing. We do it. That's the way a marriage is. It's a oneness. It's like this. Does the Holy Spirit say to the Son, "Oh man, how come you get to be crucified and resurrected?" Anybody read that in Scripture? Where the Holy Spirit said that to Jesus? Okay. Does the Son say to the Father, "You know, it'd be nice if you showed up here every once in a while and helped me clean up this mess"? A little bit of a joke there. No. Jesus doesn't say that to God the Father. The Godhead is one. Three persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, completely and totally united as one being. And that's partially the point of marriage, to show that oneness. Each in the Trinity, each has their roles. All three of them have specific roles, but all three are equal in value because they are one. That's marriage. You, as the husband, have roles and duties and responsibilities, and your spouse has roles and responsibilities and duties. The husband and the wife have different roles, different duties, different responsibilities, but no one is more important than the other in that relationship. No one is more powerful than the other in that relationship. Just different roles, different duties, equal in value, equal in worth, equal in dignity, equal before God. Different roles and duties, yet totally equal as a partial and incomplete and not always right representation of the Trinity. So, let's get practical. Let's get practical for a little bit. First, let's look at the roles of marriage, the role of the wife. Okay? Stay with me because I'm going to go fast right here. The role of the wife is to work, cook, clean, raise the kids, keep the house, satisfy the man physically, look beautiful all the time, maintain healthy friendships, buy the groceries, do the laundry, maintain her health, disciple the children, serve the church, make the plans, adjust the plans, keep the plans, and find a little time for sleep. All while the man sits on his dove, sips a cola, and watches the game, zones out, feeling justified because he has had such a hard day at work. I figured that hit a nerve or two. Maybe how you feel, but it ain't the roles. That's not the way it's supposed to work. How about the husband? Roles of marriage. The husband is to make enough money so that everyone has all they want. Never desire sex with his wife, yet somehow satisfy his wife. Never complain, help do household duties, except exactly like the wife likes it. Make the plans, adjust the plans, keep the plans, readjust the plans to suit the wife's input, even though she said she didn't care. Be the spiritual mentor, serve at church, maintain his health, and well, nobody really cares if you sleep, pal. All while the wife complains that he never does anything to help, and I'm not sure he even really cares about me or anyone but himself. Now, I don't know where all that came from. May have experienced it, may have overheard it once or 1,000 times. I don't know. That may explain a little bit of how you feel or not, but not the point, and it's wrong. It's not true. That's not the true roles of marriage. It's not the true roles of marriage. So let's get even more practical. And let me give you the key to a marriage that's enjoyable, a marriage that actually is fulfilling, a marriage that actually brings joy to your life. It's so practical and so simple that you're going to be like, oh, I know that, maybe. Or maybe you've never thought about it. But either way, if we'll do these things, we'll get somewhere special. The first thing is this: stop looking to your spouse to be the provider of your happiness and fulfillment. For the vast majority of human history, marriage wasn't about being romantically swept off your feet and continuing to feel that way for the rest of your life. That is fantasy. It's absolute fantasy. It's unrealistic. It doesn't work. It's a fool's errand to chase that in your life. It does not exist. It's not real. Don't long for marriage because you think this will happen, because it won't. It won't happen. You won't find that person that completes you totally. It doesn't happen. It's not true. It's not supposed to happen. Don't go into marriage thinking this will happen. And if you are married and you think this is supposed to happen and you're upset about it, then stop it. You're asking for something that's not supposed to exist. You're thinking something is going to happen that's not ever, ever, ever going to happen. You're never going to be completely fulfilled by your spouse, and you're not intended to be. So stop it. That Jerry Maguire moment, in Hollywood, you complete me. It's just that. It's Hollywood. It's made up. I bet you this. I bet you Jerry and old girl, I bet you they didn't make it a year. I guarantee you they didn't make it a year. Who could live up to that moment for the rest of their lives? It's just ridiculous. It's not real. Can your spouse bring happiness into your life? Of course. Should you desire to make your spouse happy when you can? Of course. Is something wrong in your marriage because you don't feel happy today? No. Nothing's wrong. Not per se, not because of that one thing. Maybe you just are tired. Who knows what it is? Since when can we trust our feelings? Goodness gracious. Can we stop that madness? We don't trust our feelings. We trust truth. We trust God's word. Not what society tells us is real. Society wants marriage to fail, church. They're attacking God. It's one of the first things he set up. So, no. Nothing's wrong if you're unhappy for a moment in your marriage. Okay, some nuggets here, okay? Some nuggets. That's first, some nuggets. Some real nuggets, I think, that will help each spouse in their relationship to feel real contentment and to truly honor God, the Lord Jesus Christ, through the power of the Holy Spirit in your marriage relationship. So, what in the world did I do? Okay. First thing, stop dictating and start doting. Now, this one's primarily for the wives. Not that men shouldn't do this also, but I'm going to speak primarily to wives in this moment and hope that I don't get arrows or anything shot at me. Stop dictating and start doting. Okay, I didn't make that up. I got that from a marriage psychologist that's a lot smarter than me, but it hit the nail on the head for me. I was trying to find the words, and these are the words. Stop dictating and start doting. Let me ask you an introspective question, wives in the building and the wives out there listening. Let me ask you an introspective and honest question. Has your direction, your instruction, your insistence, your dictating, or others might say nagging, ever actually positively changed your husband's behavior? Has it ever actually worked? Don't answer. For the ones thinking yes, it has. On the inside right now, you're going, you didn't know him 20 years ago. You should see, I mean, you have no idea what I've done to this guy. Just joking. If you're thinking yes right now, I'll ask you this. Did it work? Or did you actually push your man to either A, hide his behavior from you, or B, resent you for whatever heinous behavior it is that he needs to change? Because either one of those is dangerous. Either one of those results is not good. We don't want A and we don't want B. Those are really, really not good. We don't want the man hiding his behavior, and we certainly don't want resentment building up, because resentment built up over years doesn't play out well in a relationship, any relationship, much less the marriage relationship. Here is something every woman here today, and every woman that's listening through the camera today needs to hear, needs to understand, and needs to really take to heart. You need to hear this and understand this, and you need to believe me. Your man does not want to fight with you. He does not want to fight with you. There's no part of him that wants adversarial conversation or adversarial actions or activities with you. Now, I'm talking about all of this is in a normal, healthy sense. Okay? I'm not talking about addiction. I'm not talking about abuse. Okay? I'm not talking about those situations. Those situations are a separate thing. That's abandonment of their marriage relational covenant. That's a different thing. Okay? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about man and woman who don't have that going on. If that's going on, that's a different subject. Okay? God does not expect you to stay in a relationship and be physically abused. Okay? Put that out there right now and make sure that's clear. It's not what I'm saying. Okay? That guy may want to fight you. I don't know what's wrong with him. Something's wrong in his spirit and in his head. I'm talking about just a halfway normal dude. Okay? We're out there in the world fighting for you and for us all day long. That's what it feels like to be a man on the inside. That's truly what it feels like. Now, some of us are better at it than others. Some aren't very good at it at all. But really, like intrinsically, in our DNA, in who it is to be a man, that's what it feels like. It feels like every day outside of our home is a battle to provide, a battle to protect, a battle to live up to what it is supposed to be a man. It feels like we're fighting all the time. The last thing a man wants to do is come home and then argue with you. You chicken liver man better start amening some of this. Seriously, we don't want to do that. So your instruction or your dictating, for the sake of alliteration, it's not actually changing us. It's simply beating us further down than the world already has. That's all it's doing. Now, before I say what's next, I can already tell you what some of your reactions, many, maybe, some for sure, many, maybe, of your reactions in your head will be verbatim what you're about to think in your head after I say what I'm about to say. That's dumb. Y'all can't really be that dumb. That's what you're fixing to think. All right? To which I say, oh yes, we are. We really are that easy to understand. We really are this easy to understand. Are you ready? Let me see if I'm right. Instead of saying, why can't you just help me? Why can't you just wash the dishes? I don't understand. It's so simple. Just wash the dishes. It's the one thing I'm asking you to do around here to help me out. I do everything else, just wash the dishes. I have to remind you every time. Instead of saying that, and maybe you haven't ever said something like that, but maybe you have. I don't know. Instead of that, say, honey, thank you so much for washing those dishes. It makes me happy knowing the sink is clean. I feel like I can relax and rest well now. How many of you are thinking, that's dumb? I ain't doing that. I don't have time to placate to him. I'm telling you, he really is that simple. It really is. I promise you, he is. Test it out. Give it a shot. Can't be any worse than it already is. And if it ain't the dishes, just put in there whatever it is that he's not doing that you think would help and make the world complete. If he would just do that one thing, whatever that is, put that in there. I'm really not trying to be condescending. I am trying to be funny a little bit. I'm not trying to be I know things are frustrating. I'm not trying to gloss over that, okay? But a little humor goes a long way. You want to know why that works? Here's the secret. You want to know why that works? I've already told you he doesn't want to fight with you. I promise you, he does not want to fight with you. Man wants to make his wife happy. That is our desire. Truly. We want to make you happy. That's what being a man feels like. Like when we make you happy, it feels like I'm a good man. I want to make you happy. Your husband wants to make you happy. Truly, we do. We just usually don't know how because we're dumb. And, there's an and. I ain't just bagging on my dudes. Because you're complicated. You are. You don't even know what makes you happy most of the time. How in the world are we supposed to know? I remember one time, Kayla and I were young, hadn't been married very long. Okay? I remember this like it was yesterday, and we laughed about it for years and years after that. Kayla was upset. It wasn't anything major or big or anything like that. Well, not in my eyes anyway, but she was upset. And as a man, and most of the time to our own detriment, I'm trying to fix what's wrong, which is usually not the right thing to do. Usually all I want you to do is listen, which makes no sense to our brains. Problem, fix the problem, things are better. Why that's not the case, I'll never understand, but I did try to learn. But she had a problem. She was upset about something. And I said, honey, why are you upset? And she took a breath and she said, I don't know. I said, what am I supposed to do with that? So here's the thing. We want to make you happy, but we hate being told what to do. And here's why. The number one most important thing to your man is respect. That's how we feel loved. When respect is given, nothing else feels better than that to a man. Nothing feels better than true, real, honest respect. Respect feels like love to a man. Being told what to do feels disrespectful to us. I know it feels helpful to you, but it does not feel that way to a man. Now, it's hard for a man to get those words. I told you already, our brains are different. It's hard for us to express this, but that's the bottom line. Being told what to do feels like disrespect. And a man always resents disrespect. So instead of telling us what to do, tell us what makes you happy. It doesn't take the romance out. Trust me, you'll still be happy. You'll still enjoy it, even though you had to tell us, do this, right? But don't do it like that. Just tell us what makes you happy. Yeah, it's a Jedi mind trick, but it'll work every time. It'll work every single time. It'll work even if we know that's why you're doing it. It'll still work. So just dote on us. Just dote on your man. Dote means to show excessive fondness or excessive love. Just dote on us. It really, really is that simple. It really does work. Just don't let yourself be fooled to thinking that you're placating. You're not placating. You're actually just being smarter than us. We already know you are. It works even better when you mean it. When you dote on us and mean it, you're not just trying to manipulate or change our behavior. It really works really well. Moving on. I'm running out of time. This is primarily for men. Stop withdrawing and start initiating. This can apply to women just like the other one can. But stop withdrawing and start initiating. Men, I understand more than what I just explained before, what it feels like out there. Everything feels overwhelming sometimes. The pressure to provide, the pressure to protect, in a world full of more uncertainty and insanity around every single corner, it's exhausting to feel like you have to be perfect all the time to make anyone happy. It's exhausting. I know that. You don't have to be perfect. God is the ultimate provider. Trust Him to help you fulfill your role. Withdrawing, although feels better than conflict, is actually not helping the situation. It's only delaying the problem and allowing the problem to grow bigger and become harder to deal with. Take the time and do the hard work of finding the words. Find the words to express how you feel. The words to express the why behind whatever it is. Lead. Take the initiative and lead. Fulfill your God-given role and responsibility to lead. Lead your family, lead your wife, lead your kids. They're going to follow you for better or worse. So lead them well. Show them how to serve. Show them how to sacrifice. More important than anything, lead them to Jesus. Lead them to be connected to the church. Lead them in what matters most. Don't just make money and pay the bills. That's not what being the provider means. Don't just make money and pay the bills. That's not what is required of you most. Provide spiritual leadership. Provide spiritual protection in your home. That's your ultimate role and responsibility. There's nothing more important than that. Lead like Jesus. Wash feet. Work hard. Retreat to yourself and recover when necessary. And then re-engage and show love by serving well. Express your love with words. It helps and it matters. Be there when it matters. You can do it. You can do it. And you'll be glad that you did. I know you want to win. I know you want to win as a man. The most important scoreboard that you can win on is the spiritual scoreboard, not the material scoreboard. Not work, not your hobbies, your home. Win at home where it matters most, where God has given you the responsibility to do so. Win there. That's what matters the most. Ladies, never reveal your husband's shortcomings publicly. It's the deepest form of disrespect, and it really, really hurts. It doesn't help privately. It's devastating when you do it publicly. Devastating. Don't wrap it up in a joke. It's not funny. It hurts. It'll lead to resentment. It's not good for your relationship. Men, never express negative feelings towards or about your wife publicly. Don't do that. You already have a hard time expressing emotions. She wishes you expressed how you felt more often. So to express negative emotions publicly is the ultimate betrayal. Not only can I not get you to express your emotions, now you're expressing them publicly negatively about me. You downgraded her, you express something publicly that she can't even get you to do privately. Detrimental to your relationship. Don't do it. And if you have, apologize for it. Fix it. Focus on the conflict, not the blame. Here we go. If you don't get nothing else, get this. When two sinful, broken, issue-having human beings enter into any relationship, much less a lifelong commitment to each other, there is going to be conflict. There's going to be conflict. It's okay. It's necessary. It should and it will happen. It must be addressed. The difference in conflict and fighting, which I know no man here wants, the difference in conflict and fighting is conflict is seeking a resolution. Fighting is seeking who gets the blame. That's the difference. Yes, avoid fighting. But don't avoid conflict. Conflict must be addressed, whatever it is, even if it is about the dishes. It matters to her. You'll never understand why. Just do it. Just do it. Fighting seeks who gets the blame. Who cares who gets the blame? Don't focus on that. Don't talk about it. Don't think about it. Don't spend any time on it. You know what happens if you consistently win the fight? Your spouse is consistently a loser. Do you really want your spouse to consistently be a loser? Don't fight. Focus on the conflict. Resolve the conflict. Do not seek to win by placing blame. Just focus on the issue. There's probably a valid reason for it most of the time. Most of the time, it's probably because his mama did it for him his whole life. He doesn't know he's supposed to do it. Or whatever it's supposed to be. Finishing up. For real, Todd, finishing up. Jesus is the groom. The church is the bride. Ultimately, see your marriage for what it is. The purpose of marriage is to advance God's kingdom rule on earth for His glory. It means working together with your spouse for that joint goal, as Tony Evans says. You are a representation of the relationship of Jesus with His church. That's the language He uses to describe us. He is the groom and we are the bride. It ain't about your happiness. It ain't about your happiness. It ain't about being swept off your feet and getting all your hopes and dreams met. It's not what it's about. It's about displaying the truth of the ultimate relationship. It's about displaying the relationship of Jesus to His assembled people. Your marriage should confound the world. It should confound the world. Why does He lead them so well? Such thoughtfulness, such sacrifice. Why does she consistently submit to His leadership? Why doesn't she just tell Him how it is? I mean, it's working so well in my marriage. Meanwhile, her husband's seething on the inside, can't stand to be around her, does whatever he can to avoid her at all costs. But yeah, she's winning. Your marriage should confound the world, just like the gospel does. God loved you in this way. He sent His Son to be the reason you are justified before God. He sent His one and only Son so that whosoever would place their hope and trust in Him would not perish but have eternal life. The world still is confounded by that truth. But it's our hope and rejoice. It's what we hope and rejoice in. So wife, submit to your husband like you submit to Jesus. Love and respect him well as you do Jesus. Let how well you treat your husband be a reflection of how healthy your relationship to Jesus is. And husband, be someone worth submitting to. Be someone willing to die for what's best for His people. Did Jesus want to die? Did Jesus want to take the wrath of the Father? No, He didn't. He prayed for the cup to pass, but He did it anyway because it's what was best. It was His duty. It was His role. It was His responsibility. And being found in human form, He humbled Himself, becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. For the joy that lay before Him, He endured the cross and despised the shame and sat down at the right hand of God's throne. That means He was satisfied after doing what He was supposed to do, even though He didn't feel like doing it. Your marriage is a representation of the gospel to the world. That's what matters most, not how you feel. How you feel is going to change tomorrow and the next day. But living for Jesus, having a God-honoring, fulfilling marriage, one that seeks to honor and reflect Christ Jesus and how we treat our spouse, that's worth living for. It's worth doing the dishes for. It's worth using Jedi mind tricks to trick your husband into changing his behavior. It's worth all of it. Even when it's frustrating, even when you want to punch him, even when you want to run away. It's worth it. It's worth it. Jesus is worth it. Father, thank you for today. Thank you for this time together. Thank you for honestly, the blessings and the joy that a marriage that is trying to honor you brings, God. That's where the happiness is actually found. That's where the joy is actually found. That's where the fulfillment is actually found, is in living out our marriage to display your love and grace to our spouse and to the world. God, help us to get the fairy tale idea of wedding out of our heads and out of our hearts. Help us to look for the true meaning behind it. Help us to live out the true meaning behind it, God, to honor you and to show your love to a world that's lost and dying without you. God, may our marriages be the best evangelistic thing this church does outside of these walls. May we show the love of Jesus by how we treat our husbands and wives. In Jesus' name, amen.